In this session, I'll be describing reporting organizational performance and the IEE system. Learning objectives for this particular session, we'll be talking about scorecard performance reporting, the balanced scorecard, red, yellow, green scorecards, firefighting avoidance, and the integrated enterprise excellence or IEE system. What gets measured gets done. What are your thoughts about this comic strip? Is there some truth to this? Many say yes. The question is there a better way? Metrics drive behaviors, but sometimes the behaviors are wrong. Scorecards can also be driving wrong behaviors. We also have scorecards that can lead to a lot of firefighting. Because metrics drive behaviors, often organizations create goals on what they expect for particular performance within departments. This example is an IT department was directed to reduce staffing. They really had to address an overhead labor rate metric. They currently supported quite a few different database warehouse systems. So to meet their goal, they moved to a single system with a support group. The end results, it was disrupting the entire company, increased training costs, never did provide needed functionality. So it's important to think about how we set goals because it can lead to unintended consequences that can negatively impact the overall system. Here's another situation. A fast food company, they were looking at chicken efficiency, where it was defined as chicken sold divided by chicken cooked. Sounds like a good thing. However, the best franchise by the efficient metrics only cooked to order before closing. Customer would rather leave than just wait 15 minutes for the chicken to be cooked. We can lose sight of what's important to the business as a whole. Enron, the turn of the century, the basic goal was to keep their stock price up. Payment to the executives and benefits were a function of the stock prices. The company fails to adjust the financial practice to maintain quarterly gains, did some manipulation, played games with the financial reporting to make things look better than they were. In 2008, we had financial crisis. Why? Well, there we'd also had a situation where we were having metrics that were leading to the wrong behaviors. What happened here? This is a satellite view of the BP oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. BP knew they had problems before they had the oil spill. However, people were hesitant about perhaps reporting it up the chain of command or whatever, but they did not have transparency in metric reporting, and they had metrics that drove to the wrong behaviors that sacrificed quality. What is this? The Listeria bacteria. Bluebell ice cream got impacted with this. They had major shutdown because of this bacteria. They knew they had problems before they had the major shutdown, and people died because of the contamination. Can you relate to this? This could be hold time in the call center, waiting in a waiting room. There's waste associated with that. We need to have metrics that address this issue. That doesn't ring a bell. What about this? This is what you call door-to-door service. This is a picture of our house on Veterans Day, December 2014. The person that was driving this vehicle had delivered a package up the hill from us, fell out of the vehicle, and the vehicle went down the hill and just managed to get between two trees and get stopped by the third tree. Fortunately, nobody got hurt, minimal damage. It could have really been a disaster. But you want to make things so errors don't happen, mistakes don't happen. So we talked about metrics. So the first thing we might think about is we need to put together some scorecards. So now I need a performance dashboard. I need balanced scorecard, which is a popular way, and because that's what a lot of companies are doing. Now, is this positive or not? Can improper implementation drive the wrong behavior? This might be a new trend. Let's do it ourselves. It cannot be too hard. However, is it that easy? Let's look at what this is, some statements taken from real numbers. By Cunningham and Fume is the book. These are somewhat lean financial type practitioners. Quote says, information must be easily and understood and actionable. Over the years, however, managers have been forced to understand their own departments, not in terms of income and cost, but variances and percentage that bear little relationship to reality. They go on to say those same managers learned that variances could be nudged up or down to present a better picture of the operation. For instance, by using labor hours to make 1 million pieces of plastics that were not actually needed, even if that meant damaging the real business interests. They talk about a complex accounting system, create a kind of a funhouse mirror where a skinny man could look fat by simply shifting his position. Well, this is not good. This is statements made by CFO type people, accounting type people. This is actual tabular performance report out. What might you conclude when looking at this table? What might you get from presentations of a similar table? You'll invariably get stories. So somebody that's presenting this particular table might say, for the third line down where we talk about labor costs, we could maybe make a statement that in 2001, our labor costs, or 2002, our labor costs increased because we did not have annexations as high as we expected, and therefore our cost per call went up. But you can see in 2003 it went down, so we're on track. That may be true, but is it giving us really insight to what we might do differently? One popular approach to performance scorecard is a balanced scorecard. So we start with vision and strategy. We break it down to 4 quadrants as shown there, and each category has objective, measure, targets, and initiative. So what I question is, should we be driving our metrics from strategies? All this is good, but should we go in and not have a forced metric system that depends upon strategies? Because strategies sometimes are worded like, I want to be the best of the best. So we're going to be getting into that a little bit later. So from this, we might have a strategy that would be stated like is shown here, where we notice that we want to grow the business by 25%. We want to have a certain net profit, achieve 60% of revenue with repeated customers, and so on. We also notice that we want to have 100% customer satisfaction. So now, with the balanced scorecard approach, we want to go in and create some metrics associated with that. So this is some metrics that we might have. Now we notice that profitability is down. Well, what are we going to do? We got to go in and make it better, so we're going to cut travel for the rest of the year. Have anybody heard that sort of scenario come out in their organization? What about customer satisfaction? We're not meeting 100%. Well, what are we going to do? Well, maybe let's change the survey questions so they give us more positive response. Both of those are not good scenarios, but often is what happens from this kind of reporting. The red, yellow, green scorecards are very common. Only compare the instantaneous performance to set goal. And if you have this kind of reporting, you might have no insight to trends or historical performance. And if the goal is not really a specification, they can often be ignored. Was that a good behavior? Well, probably not. Here's an actual red, yellow, green scorecard. You notice how it's broken out on the left-hand side to the balanced scorecard issues. So let's examine finance metric B. We notice closely we'll have 33% red and 50% green. Now the question is that special or common cause? Now I like to go in and talk about special and common cause from a high-level point of view. Edwards Deming, we turned the Japanese around in the 50s, coined the term special and common cause, and more often than not, that's viewed as control charting on the low level within primarily manufacturing organization. That's not what I'm talking about here. To illustrate the point, let's consider the time it takes you to commute from home to work. Is it going to take you the same amount of time to the second every day? Well, obviously not. Why? We got more delays one day than the others because of traffic, signals, and so on. So we got common cause variability in our overall commute time. So let's say it takes us 25 to 35 minutes. That's common cause variability. So we might want to reduce the amount of time it takes us to commute. So we're going to establish a goal of 29 minutes. Okay, so if it takes us longer than 29 minutes, we're going to try to figure out why. What happened because we didn't meet our goal. But I just said you shouldn't do that. That's a normal variability of our process. But it happens all the time with red, yellow, green scorecards. So if we don't like the answer that we have of common cause variability, we got to do something different to the process. So let's say relative to the process, we're leaving a half an hour earlier. Now we have less traffic, so now it takes us, it takes us 18 to 22 minutes to commute. So we reduce not only the average time, but also the variability. But the point is, if we got common cause variability and we don't like the answer, we got to change our process. But traditional scorecards don't report out relative to a process point of view. In addition, the red, yellow, green scorecards don't provide a predictive statement, and what we'd really like to do is have a predictive statement. So let's take this particular set of data, and what we're going to do is create an individual's chart. So this describes the up and down variability we have. The two parallel lines that we have there, called upper control limits, lower control limits, are really determined from the data, not what we want. So you can see we don't have any trends, so therefore we say we got common cause variability. The implication is that whenever we transition from red to green in the scorecard, nothing really improved. It was just normal noise to the system, not unlike change in the specification of 29 minutes for a commute from home to work when we had normal variability of 25 to 35. But the nice thing we got is we like to make a prediction statement, because whenever it's a stable process, we can make a prediction statement. The next obvious question is, what do you predict? So what I'm going to do right now is take this data and I'm going to consider it to be a random sample of the future. I'm then going to turn that distribution on its side, put the 2.2 value in there. That area below 2.2 represents the estimated time we expect, not only now, but in the future, to be nonconformance. Now, calculating what that area is not trivial. A better way of presenting is a probability plot. So in this particular case, we put the 2.2 value up there, and then now we look at the cumulative value that we have on the y-axis, 32.6%. So with a better presentation of this, we not only go in and we give a better presentation, but we also include that box 32.6% of the time is going to be below 2.2. In other words, about a third of the time it will be red in the future. So we have not improved our process, and we expect to be red in the future about a third of the time. Notice this is an actual red, yellow, green scorecard. Only thing I'm doing is looking at the data differently. So what do we want to do with an alternative type of reporting using this probability plot? So what we want to do now is, if we got a stable probability plot or stable control chart, then we want to take that data, and we're going to assume that data is from the recent region of stability to be a random sample of the future. We create a probability plot. Okay, now we can make a statement of how our process is doing. So the way I like to present it is like shown here. So we're showing that it's stable, show a probability plot. Now we say we got a non-conformance rate of 32.6. Again, if you don't like the answer, you got to change your process. So basically what we had is a lot of firefighting. We've got crises that we're working on. We're treating common cause variability as though it's special cause. What's the issues with this? Takes resources away from planned work, delays. Top leadership can be promoted because they're very good firefighters. We needed action in order to react to changing priorities. So are we asking the wrong question? Typical metrics focus on fiscal years unrelated to improvement system, make point-to-point comparisons. So effective metrics view the enterprise as a system of processes, view the metrics as a result of these processes, acknowledge the effect of variability within the processes. Traditional scorecards don't do that. Then what we want to do is have support long-lasting change as a result of systematic improvement to these processes. So within this IEE system, we have what we call satellite level metrics. Those are financial metrics. Those are going to be tracked similar to what we just did with this red, yellow, green scorecard transition. But we also have 30,000-foot level metrics, where now we're looking at operational metrics throughout the organization and reporting them from a process point of view. Now the question is, how do we put that throughout the organization? And we can use what we call the value chain, the integrated enterprise excellence value chain. And what this does is it links the processes with the metrics associated with them. We can then set goals for our satellite or financial goals, and then now we can figure out which 30,000-foot level metric goals we need to do to go in and make improvements to the overall system. So basically what we'll have now is we're tracking a particular metric on a 30,000-foot level point of view. We notice that we're not doing as well as we like. It pulls for a project. So this is when we're getting into the Lean Six Sigma DMAIC project. A lot of times with Lean Six Sigma, the project problem statement is anecdotal. What we want to really do is create a problem statement that has a metric associated with it. And proof of the pudding that we made an improvement in the process is that individuals chart transitioned to a new enhanced level of performance. So in this case, it transitioned, and we got a better level of performance. And it's going to have a certain amount of money associated with it. Now, the 9-step IEE system is what this is all about, or one of the suggestions here. But we notice that identification and execution of the project is in step 7. So step number 1 is vision and mission. Step 2 is the value chain, which we just really talked about. Step 3 is we want to analyze the enterprise. Step 4 is create smart, specific, measurable, action, relevant, time-based satellite goals. Then we got strategies that are aligned to improve those metrics. Then we want to figure out which area we want to work on 6, and figure out which metrics we want to improve. And there's an owner of that, then they're going to be asking for the project. to get it completed. So then we're going to execute the project in 7. If you did a good job, you improve the procedures in the value chain, which improve the 30,000 foot level, which improve the satellite level metrics. And notice how step 9 links back to step number 3. So you got somewhat of a damning plan to check act for the enterprise as a whole. But the point is here is you really want to have projects that's going to help the big picture. That's the focus that you want to really be working on. So if we compare this overall system to other things that are out there, you can see how this particular approach has some advantages over the other systems, and it's more encompassing of the various techniques that are incorporated in the other systems. So IEE helps us confront the hazardous, and then IEE is an evolution here to get to the point of building upon what we've done in the past. So the summary here is scorecard and performance reporting, balanced scorecard, red, yellow, green scorecards, firefighting avoidance for scorecards, and then the integrated enterprise excellence system.